I know billionaires who are very unhappy because they abandoned their kids for their work and to play in New York and left the kids on on the island. So the 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 secret of really the secret of life is love yourself and another person. First yourself. Okay.
Mic check. Welcome to Games of Amore, episode 8, where we explore romantic stories and the games we all play and love. I'm your host, Caesar, joined today with our guest host, the lovely Magdalena.
Hello.
And today we are interviewing one of the original madmen, a former ad agency mogul, Mr. J. Sir, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Jay Wolf. I'm a New Yorker, born and raised in New York, raised in the Bronx with a lot of other smart people. I'm not sure how much more you want me to say.
Well, I mean, is there any truth to my claim? So to
okay,
speak?
okay. Well, yeah, I stumbled. I didn't go to school when I was a kid. I lived in the pool room. Lived in the movies from the age of 10. And so it was the pool room, the racetrack cards. School was not important. I never liked it. So I kind of stumbled out of school without a GED. I had no place to go, so I went into the Air Force. And what I learned in the Air Force was that you don't own, people own you. The government owns you. You can't say or do anything without their approval. I didn't like that. Because I spent most of my teenage life walking the streets of the Bronx during the 50s, so that was all the gangs. I knew all the gangs. Never had one fight. I was always able to talk myself out of a fight or just get by, because everybody had protected neighborhoods. So I was a kind of wise ass, kind of a pool room guy, so in basic training. And I was the only Jew in the squadron. So I got picked on. And half of the people there were from the South. So I had never experienced this before. So I'm a laid-back person, and it just went on and on and on and on. And finally, at the end, it was like the last PT. We were going to get out of basic training. Squadron, the drill sergeant said, "Okay, anybody have a beef with anybody?" And I said, "I do." And I had a beef with somebody else.
Brief intermission. Guys, hold on. Can you just do us a favor? Just when you come out, can you just come out through that door, please? Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Okay, and we're back.
Squadron.
So
Wait, sorry to cut you off. No, how did you end up in the ad business?
that's what I was.
Okay.
That's where I was kind of moving to. I stumbled into it. When I came out of the service, when I went into the service, I had a GED. When I came out of the service, I had almost 3 years of college finished that night at LIU, almost straight A's, and I got a scholarship to Pratt Institute, 4 years. So at Pratt, I thought I was going to be an industrial designer, but no, I kind of backed into the fact that I like to present things in a clever way. And that kind of just led me into advertising, which is kind of like a new industry because of an agency called Doyle and Bernbach, who came out of gray advertising. And instead of just yelling at you, talking at you, they did things, they started a creative revolution by not only being clever about how they presented it, but by really selling you. So they married the two, and that was the first, and that's what attracted me. I said, I could do that. And so maybe it just took 2 years, and I was, say, at that awards dinner, was it 1960, when was this, 60, when was Martin Luther King shot? I don't remember the year. That's what, that, in Mad Men, that's when.
I want to say 64, but
I think it's right. I think it's 63 or 64. I think it's 64. I don't think.
I don't know why that number sticks in my head.
So,
yeah.
And so some of the people I had come up with then were the consultants on Mad Men. And so that was a particular unusual awards dinner because I had more entries than any other agency myself. I beat out agencies, and I thought there was going to be my crowning achievement, and from there I was going to skyrocket and be a celebrity. But instead, Paul Newman was the speaker. The guest speaker was called the Andy Awards at the Hilton in New York, and he learned that Martin Luther King was shot. He announced it to the audience, and unlike the way they played it on TV, everybody disbanded. They didn't continue with that. They didn't just continue with the show after they heard that news. That wasn't right. However, I got very lucky. That's all I could say. I got very lucky because I bumped into something that I had the ability to do, and in my mind, I competed with the very best of the best. I never thought that. I never thought anybody. I didn't think I was better than anybody, but I never thought anybody was better than me. I thought there was it was a level of work where people just acknowledged each other for the you hit it. It's like you hit a home run. You hit a home run. It's like, yeah, that's a good example of it. So I spent a lifetime in 50 years in advertising. 50.
Well, you started in the early 60s.
I started in 65, 66. So Martin Luther King must
68.
have been, had to be.
I Googled it.
Yeah,
April 4th,
it had to be later than that.
1968.
Yeah. Oh, and the last 20 years of my career, I had my own agency. But really, I did a lot of famous stuff. But that's not what ran my life.
Okay, so
I was going to say, what's your biggest accomplishment, though?
wait, before we get into that, because, the theme of the show is exploring the games we all play in relationships, right? The games we all play in love. So to you, especially being somebody who grew up in that kind of Mad Men era, where according to the show, I mean, it was quite a thing. So what does that mean to you, especially for somebody who grew up around that time, right?
Well, to be honest, there was only a couple of agencies I could work in because of the mentality, because of what you saw in Mad Men was a combination of the old and the new. The old was everybody had booze in their office. Everybody drank. And there wasn't any respect for the client nor for the work. We were different. And what was different, there was no booze. There was a lot of grass. It was grass. That whole revolution. That whole revolution was built on marijuana.
Was it true of the show and of the times, the way that women were treated?
Women were treated just as badly, a little slightly better in the ad business. It was because very often the secretaries who worked in the outer offices would want to become a writer or an art director, and if they matched up to the right person, I helped several people. I put one secretary through school. She wanted to be a writer. And that was the culture then. It was, yes, people helped each other. But it was very competitive, very cutthroat business.
That was the culture in your agency at the time, but not in general agencies.
More cutthroat.
It was more cutthroat, right?
Yeah. The good, what was called creative agencies, like one of the agencies, I was a senior vice president working on I was carrying the P&G business. It was a place called Wells Rich Green. Mary Wells was a very famous husband-owned brand of airlines. They did New York, the advertising for New York. Back then it was famous stuff like Flicky Bic. They were considered a creative agency. So the people there knew that they could work any place. They weren't afraid of their jobs, so people spoke their mind. I used to tell people that if they disagreed with like an ad and I knew it was right, I would say, listen, if you're not agreeing with me, then I haven't made myself clear. I mean, everybody, I think, was like, they were arrogant. They believed in themselves. It was an unusual kind of environment, to just be around people who believe in themselves, which I believe is like sports. Sports is the same way. These are athletes who believe in themselves, they believe in their own abilities, and that's why they excel, because they're not trying to get ahead by stepping over other people or on other people. And that was a very fortunate environment to be in. It was very nurturing.
Very nurturing.
Yeah. People acknowledged you for your work. But it's very funny. I never told people about my work. I never would tell friends or even family what I was doing or boast about what I was doing, because I didn't need their approval. I only needed my own approval. If I liked it, I was good. And I mean, I've launched some of the biggest brands in the country.
Okay.
I can't. When I don't talk about it because it sounds like too much. Sounds like I'm.
I mean, it's all right. I understand.
I'm making stuff up.
Well, in regards to the culture during that time, how rampant was like affairs in the office, things like that?
I had one.
You had an affair in the
Yes.
office. Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It was a good old fucking Christmas party.
Just like the show too.
Just like I'm in a GM building on the 25th floor.
Okay.
At 25 to 26 at a spiral staircase. This woman would make parties like you've never seen before. So Toys R Us are down in the next door to us, and there was another famous restaurant below. And you get enough alcohol in you, and you start kissing anybody. But this one actually continued, and then I'm saying it was an affair because there was another person that I really thought I was going to marry. So this was just before I was going to get. I guess maybe it's a kind of like testing the water to see if I really did, if my feelings were real. And I'll never forget this. I mean, talk about a little bit about it in bed.
Please go on.
This woman scratched up my back. And I thought that was about the rudest thing anybody could do. It's like she marked me.
She marked her territory.
And my attitude, and she only lived 2 blocks away from me. And my attitude is after you did it, fuck you. I don't want to ever see you again. And I didn't. And then I went ahead with the person I wound up marrying.
Did she ever find the scratches?
I was going to ask that.
No, I don't think so. Those days, I think I healed a lot faster than I heal now.
Like, I better hope to heal fast. I'm sure you went out of town on business to, for the scratches to heal first.
I didn't have a lot of girlfriends growing up. even when I got married the first time. This was after my first marriage. And, but after I ended my first marriage, I made up for it. I decided, that if I could tell the truth, how far can I take it?
Interesting.
And I was sleeping with 4 friends. Till one day there was a Christmas party, and we were all together at the same time.
What decade is this, if you remember?
This is 1976, 77.
Okay.
And but
Christmas parties, man.
The Christmas party also ended it.
Christmas party.
Yeah, it was like holy shit.
You had I mean, this was by
nobody
coincidence, like 4 of them in the same Christmas
They didn't
party.
yell at me. They knew what was going on, but it was so goddamn uncomfortable. And I was making it a point not to hide anything because I grew up so repressed and so passive aggressive that I had to do a lot of work on myself to turn myself around. That's why the first divorce after 9 years proved to me. I mean, I was at the top of the industry, my work. I lived in a big house. I had 2 Mercedes. I was 29 by then. But I was married to a really bad person. Somebody who was sleeping with everybody I knew.
Damn.
Almost from the time we got married. And I didn't know it.
You only found out, like, when did you find out?
I found that after my daughter was 2 years old. So,
How did you find out?
I mean, maybe. How did I find out?
Mm-hmm.
I think we went out to dinner, and she told me about one because at that point, we were having trouble. So I think she admitted to one, and then it just kept rolling out, and this person, and this person, and this person, and my boss.
Wow.
And her boss was, ever hear of Joe Gallo?
Joe Gallo? Name sounds familiar.
Yeah. Genevieve's crime family.
Wow.
He was working one of his places. He gave me a blank check when I bought my house for $25,000 for it. And I said, thank you, but it's okay. I got it. But, God, what a mistake that would have been. But I would just distracted myself.
Your wife, her revelations of multiple affairs. Your
Oh,
first
yeah. So, I mean, so I thought I was Mr. Success, and I was really Mr. Failure. The only thing is that happened, and my daughter was born, and that was the best thing that ever happened. And in terms of relationships, it's been the and most important relationship in my life, even though my daughter's mentally ill. A lot of problems, in Yiddish there's a word called tsuris. Really means a whole mishmash of lots of problems falling down on you like the rain. And doesn't matter. Love is love, and I think that loving, especially the ability to love a child, is the biggest gift in life because it's free and it automatically happens like hunger. You don't have to work at it, except my first wife. As soon as she was born, she didn't want anything to do with her, so I bonded with her. Things happen. So, I mean, I was really stupid. I just grew up really stupid, and those years that I wasn't paying attention to what was going on with her was I was building a career. That's what men did then. You
Right.
provide for your family. You got to get money somehow. But I never chased money. I always thought that if I did a good work, money would come, and it did. But people say, "Why, with all I did, why am I not rich?" Because I did it for other people. I was just a well-paid hired gun.
And you enjoyed the work that you did, the creative aspect.
Loved it. I do it automatically. I still do it. It's like if I see a product or I see an idea, my mind just goes to it and I solve the problem and there's another one. But nobody will ever use it because I'm never going to talk to anybody about it. And nobody wants to talk to somebody like me because there's a belief, at least I had, that a lot of people had, that to succeed, you need to be a person of your time. So I'm clearly not a person of this time by choice. I could be a person of this time because that's what I did. I would learn. I would learn it, but don't want to be because I'm not impressed with it. Individual responsibility is out the window, and growing up in the Bronx, to get around with get the gangs or friends, all you have is your word, and if you can't keep your word, you're worthless to nobody. You're worthless to everybody.
Nowadays, it's just image.
Well, that's what happened in advertising. And it happened over a particular campaign. It was a Pepsi campaign in the 70s. And I was actually working on Coke at that time. They were always going head to head, and Pepsi had this idea of the Pepsi generation. And they brought in young people. And it worked very well. It was good marketing. So, but what they did it with a song, and they did it with music. Everybody and his brother then wanted to do commercials. So, Dr. Pepper, I'm a pepper, you're a pepper, a Coke, it's the real thing. It just took over, and then it bled into all of the advertising. I'm surprised people weren't singing about funeral parlors. I mean, that's how crazy it got. And then what happened is the technology has changed so that we've moved from thinking to entertainment. So now when we see commercials, some of them start to look like movies because CGI, they've spent that kind of money. But you're not impressed, you're not sold. I defy you actually to find a commercial that sold you in the last year.
They're not clever.
No, because they don't sell anymore. They forgot what selling is. And selling is the same thing as the law. You have a premise and you prove it. You give people a reason to believe what you're promising. That sells it. And the better you do that, and if you can do that in an intelligent way and bring a person up to the level of the way you communicate to them, they will love you for it and they'll buy in because they'll think it's their own idea. They won't feel that they've been sold.
Do you feel like, in a way, some of the relationships that you had sold you?
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You bought a product that only in time you kind of like, damn, this isn't what this isn't what was advertised.
Well, do you mean product or relationship?
Well, I mean,
The person, the relationship, right?
Relationship, for sure. My first wife. Listen, I don't think we could have any sex anymore unless we go forward. I need a commitment. I was still my third year in college.
Wait, she just out of nowhere, she
just decided.
She gave it up, and then she took it away?
No, it was like an ultimatum. So I was used to the sex. I didn't like chasing women. I just didn't. I'm the guy who never walked into a bar to pick up a girl. But I used to pick up girls at Lowe's Paradise in the Bronx in the movies on Saturdays. you go up to a girl. You got to do this as two couples. You got to find. But everybody traveled in twos. So you go sit next to somebody, and if they don't leave, then after about 20 minutes, you put your hand on the back of the seat, and then you work up to the arm. And if they don't move your arm, you're in.
Okay.
Nice.
Old school game. Okay.
But that was it. That's about the only I just was never, I just, I had friends who were hounds. I just never understood that. I didn't understand using a girl. I mean, I always saw people as people, so I never, the idea of lying to somebody about my feelings or trying to get laid, and say things to try to get laid, it was like I couldn't do that. I had too much of a conscience about it. I did it once after the first marriage. I pushed somebody. To this day, I think about it and would love to meet the person to apologize. It was such a wrong thing to do. And I know to some degree you hurt a person and it doesn't go away. It's buried, but it doesn't go away. So,
You felt like you told her
yeah, it was
a claim that you weren't.
You sold her
You know,
product that wasn't.
I think I don't know what. It's hard to think of what the other sex is thinking, but I think what goes on is everybody's desperately looking to connect to somebody, and maybe you blame yourself for not being more open-minded, or people can be pushed. If they don't push back, then they can be taken advantage of. And we're probably all vulnerable in that in different ways, in different things. Unless we're tyrants.
So, after your first wife, right? How much of it did you learn? Like, how different was your second wife from your first?
Well, before the second wife, who was actually one of my students at Visual Arts, I taught advertising for many years. I had my own school, too, afterwards. But then I got too busy. I had to close it. First, I had to turn myself inside out. There was a thing called EST. And now it's called the Forum or something like that. It's self-help.
Okay.
Rebirthing. Rolfing. Rolfing was I should stop to tell you about Rolfing for a moment. It was the biggest learning of my life. Rolfing was taught by a guy who's the son of a person called Ida Ralph, and he had polio, and he was supposedly cured of polio with this deep massage. So what they would do is, this is in the 77, 78, at that time. What they would do is like take his elbow and like dig it into the back of in your back, with the idea of you store trauma there, and he can point to it, and it's up to you to release it. That's not what he's ever said. It's just me looking backwards, realizing that's what was going on. So I did about 6 lessons, and I thought it was just a painful exercise, and it was stupid, and I was just falling for it. And I was at the last one I was going to go to, and he did the same thing. He's in my back with his elbow, and I'm on a table, and it's so painful that I just squirted right off the table. And he yells at me, "Get back." I said, "Okay, I'm done with this." I get back on, and he starts doing the same thing, and I say to myself, make believe you're going to live with this for the rest of your life, this pain. It was like I was playing, and like my fingers are not going to snap. And just like that, the pain turned to pleasure.
Wow.
And sex forever changed for me. I learned how to let go. So it was like an amazing lesson. And that led to other things about letting go. Attachment. Our life is run by attachment. We're attached to everything. We're attached to our things, our clothing, the people. We define ourselves by attachment. And from then on, it's like I didn't need the Mercedes anymore. I didn't need those things. It was like an epiphany. I guess an epiphany.
Or in a spiritual awakening, so to speak.
Yeah. I won't use the word woke.
Oh, please don't.
I won't
Please
use
don't.
the word woke.
Woke? Oh,
Yeah.
God, no.
That's not.
Yeah, but
Pardon me.
Wow. So
okay.
you said sex changed for you.
Yeah, it was.
Talk about that.
So then when I met the person who was my student, who I thought was an idiot in class, I met her on a bus
That's funny.
coming home from. I saw her again in. There's a park off of Lexington, off of Third Avenue that had a waterfall in it on 53rd Street. I walked in there. It was like, I think March. She was sitting there, wrapped up, the only person in there in the chair reading the book. Said she recognized me, and she said the first thing she noticed, the ring was missing from my finger. And we started to talk. We walked over to the UN. By the time we got to the UN, we were holding hands. By the time she worked at Gray Advertising, which was a block away from me, I was then at McCann Erickson. We watched her walk away, and I said, I think that's it. And I married her, and we had a good time until she couldn't. She lied. I mean, this is what people do. They lie to themselves. My daughter was ill, mentally ill, and she was putting up with it in order to catch me.
To catch you.
Yes, because once it got real, and once we were married, she would participate less and less and less with us, to the point that I'm now here full time, and she's in New York. And so my priorities, I wanted her to come here, years ago, but she wouldn't. So,
Hindsight being 2020, were there ever any signs like
yeah.
what?
Uh,
That's tough. Right?
Well,
Like, could you tell in the first interaction with them too and stuff? Or?
Well, for instance, when we were first married, I would go up and get my daughter for the weekend from New York up to Peekskill, New York, and go back, and she would come with me. After a while, she didn't want to come to me. So, and then when my daughter was there for the weekend, she participated. And this went on for years, and my daughter had a lot of problems with her mother and school, and at the age of 12, I took custody of her. And I had a weekend house on a lake about an hour west in New Jersey. And I asked my wife, who had just lost her job, would she stay out there and watch her for a while? And I had just started my own agency, which was supporting us. So, help out, be there. We're not going to give up the apartment in the city, just be there for a while. But she didn't. After 2 months, she left. And that was it. I thought divorce for a long time. This went on for 4 years, my daughter through. She would only come out on weekends, my wife. And all my friends wanted me to, chuck her. But I had too much going on. A new ad agency that I started in a brand new place in New Jersey, which now has become a mecca for business, Jersey City. And she just did not participate in my daughter's life. And so when my daughter went off to school, she came down to Florida to go over to Greenlee School of Art and Design. That was the time I was thinking of getting divorced, and I decided I could either do that or I could just drop it. Decided to drop it. Dropped it. This resentment, and we had a lot of time together, so I thought I would try to make it work again. And it did for a short time, a couple of years. But then my daughter's illness just got worse, and I had to pay more attention to her. And what was the name? I'm trying to think. There was a toy when I grew up as a kid. It was Stretch Armstrong. So you could pull the arms out and on it. And that's the way I was with New York and Miami. I was Stretch Armstrong. Back and forth, flying back and forth, driving back and forth. At the very beginning of all the car phones and cell phones and modems, so that I could do ads on a computer.
So this was like late 80s, early 90s?
It's 2000.
2000.
And so I'm still working. I'm still doing ads on. I'm doing stuff in the Hampton Inn and creating PDFs, the very beginning of like PDFs, and sending it to clients. It worked. I made it work, but it was a little bit of a crazy life. But as you might call it, a bifurcated life. Just split up. And it's really where I am now. Except I'm more here. But
So are you still married to her?
we're still married. She had a stroke 7 years ago, and so I don't. This will express. I mean, this is pretty personal, but I'll express exactly where the relationship is wound up. She can't take care of herself, so out of loyalty, I take care of her. And she misses me because she wants somebody to take care of her. And every time we're on the phone, she says, I love you. Now, years ago, the automatic thing is, says, love you too, right? That's the way most people react. I don't say that. It rings hollow, too. There's just a silent space that exists. I want her to know that that's not what's going on. And she's not likely to want to be able to confront it, so she leaves it at that. Because she needs me to take care of her, which I do. I would never abandon her. She got sick. We all get sick.
You're a deeply loyal person.
Let me put it another way. If I were to die next week, somebody told me I was going to die next week, I wouldn't be upset. Now, of course, I want to die because I stuck to my guns and my conscience, which I believe you could all call God. And because of it, I have a lot of respect for who I am and what I've done. And I've done it, I've had it my way. And there's nothing for me to bitch about,
What made you get to that point? Was it the Rolf?
I think I've always been working towards this. Never knowing when there was an arrival place, when you get to a place where you say, oh, that's where I am. I guess this past year, it's, the fact that I'm even talking. I don't talk to people. I mean, I don't really reveal myself like this. But this last year, something really changed. Turning 82, something really changed. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. But I seem to want to express that learning to other people. But it's not convenient for most people.
Yeah.
Well, it's just a very inconvenient way of living. So they could say, well, you're fine, you can talk, you got lucky, you found something you love to do and it did right by you, and that's true. But every moment of every day in life, you're making a choice. And that's the work, to just always make what the right choice. And don't tell me you don't know the right choice, because that's why they invented God. God is you, your conscience. I did this I'd love to tell you this. I did this in the way I opened up every class in school. I would say to them, now this is arrogant. I would have standing room only. I'd say, listen, I'm going to prove to you that God exists. And if I haven't really convinced you, you should leave, you should not take this class. And everybody looks at me and, what the fuck? Who is this guy? So I said, I do it like this. I said, I want you to think about everything that's going on in your mind. Just watch your mind. You're thinking, this guy's an idiot. You're thinking, how am I going to get out of here to get something to eat? I haven't eaten all day. I'm thinking, oh, I like that girl over there. I'm thinking, how am I going to get through my homework? I don't have enough money for rent. You just look at all that shit that's going on in your brain all at once. You're thinking. Now, stop. So now I want you to pay attention to what you're feeling. You're feeling hungry, you're feeling horny, you're feeling tired, you're feeling miserable, you're feeling angry at your parents for not giving you enough money to go to a better school. You got all these feelings going on, just like you're thinking. You got all these feelings all jumbled up, all at once. It's not one or the other, it's just all going on at once. Okay, now stop. I said, okay, you noticed what you were thinking, and you noticed what you were feeling. So who's watching? Who's doing the noticing? That's you. And when you do advertising and you communicate, you're a God and you talk to gods. You don't talk to the brain. You don't talk to the feeling. You talk to God. God is the combination of all of it. And every once in a while, it's like somebody would have an epiphany, like they get back in touch with themselves. Of course, they're in some sort of game with themselves. And that's like one of the greatest moments of teaching. I got a second greatest moment. So I taught concepts. I taught people how to think. And what you do is pick a product and on it with a tissue. I don't care if you do stick figures. I just want some sort of picture that we could understand what you mean and the words that you mean, and just put it on a wall. I said, don't render it, don't do anything. And and this is an issue of people thinking, well, maybe I'm not good enough because I'm not an artist or stuff like that. So somebody comes in with an ad that they must have spent 3 nights rendering. It was like a piece of art. Puts it on the wall. I see it. Those days we smoked in class. I said, okay, I want everybody to look at this. They're looking. So just notice it, because I want you to remember it. And I went over with my lighter, and I burned it on the wall.
Oh, shit.
The guy almost jumped out of it and killed me. And then, of course, I explained it's valueless. It didn't communicate. Is there anything in that you remember that? And everybody got it, And this was the issue about advertising, turning it also into slick production with empty, just like Hollywood now. What's Hollywood? It's CGI. It's all Marvel.
Yes.
And there's no
plot. There's no story.
You got to go digging on Netflix to find a story about something.
Everything is trash nowadays. Everything. It's so hard to find a good movie. It really is. I'm so glad you said it.
The writing isn't there. There's a few writers are out there. Chuck Lorre, 2.5 Men. I mean, there's Kelly, who did the Boston League. I mean, there are a few good writers out there, but that's it. You count them on one hand. And the rest is crap. And that's why there's so much of this. All these streaming places buying the same product, offering the same product, competing with each other.
Did you know that this is probably going to upset you, but apparently it's a real thing by new Hollywood standards by 2024. In order to be considered in the Academy Awards, you have to meet a certain certain level of minorities need to be in your
I read
production.
that. I read that, and a lot of people are. That's how stupid. You know, there was a real issue years back. There was a real issue. You know, it was all white people, and that was Hollywood. And they needed to make a point out of it to change, and it did change. But then they, like everything, they got carried away with themselves.
From
Took
one
it to
pendulum
another
the other.
level.
Yeah.
You know, yes, right. The overreacting.
We're gonna make up for all those years. I feel like that they're trying to make up for all those years. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't like it because it interferes with creativity. You know, it's just like when I started out in the business, what you would do is try to find the best thing you can to say, whatever you thought was, and then if it was marginal, you would call in a lawyer, and the agencies all had lawyers on retained, and they would sit with you and you say, how can I say this legally? Because, like, if you're talking about medical stuff, you can't say absolutes. You know, like this will heal you. You can't say that.
You have to say
use conditional
can.
words. There's can, right, or may, or
Yes.
right. And but now the lawyers are there to just be stop signs. You can't do this. You can't do this. And that's like what's happening in Hollywood. You can't do this. You can't do this. This is what's happening in the States. Authoritarianism is taking over the mentality, and it's, what's the word for it when you make it common?
Normalizing.
You normalize, right? It's exactly the right word. You're normalizing the idea little by little by little. You know, I don't want to be alive 20 years, 25 years from now in this country. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good
honey,
because
we will be.
agreed. I know.
the money is continually separating. Less money on the table. All the rich people are hoarding it. And what's going to happen is everybody knows what's going to happen. They just don't want to be around for it.
Yes, as fascinated and depressing as this is.
I'm sorry.
No. 'Cause
this is
I am
great.
fascinated by this kind of talk.
Where do you think relationships will be 25 years from now?
Well, hold on, wait a minute. I want to explore back into your Christmas party days.
Oh,
When something interesting you said that you kind of explored a new radical honesty, so to speak, with women. Right? Can you expand on that a bit more? Because at some point you had 4 women in a Christmas party.
yeah. You know, I was trying to catch up, seeing how many people I could get into bed with.
You know what? Just for fuck's sake, what's your body count?
I don't know. That was a busy year.
That was a busy.
Oh, damn.
I was really
You
busy.
think you could
I was
estimate?
really. I was svelte. You don't know that word. I was in great shape. I was doing the Canadian Air Force exercises. I didn't go to a gym and I was cut. I was in great. The best. My best moment to be naked.
Okay.
So, so I was. I don't know. 15, 20?
In total, in life?
That year?
Oh,
or?
in my life?
Oh no, that was that year.
That was that
15,
year.
20.
Wait a minute.
Oh, okay.
No. I'm going to answer you.
No. Okay, go ahead.
If that was 15, 20, if it was 20 in my life, 23.
In your life, 23.
Yes.
That's pretty conservative to these
Yes.
standards.
Yes. What I'm saying is it was
But
all in this
it
one
was
year.
all very compressed.
Yes.
Got you. So to expand on the radical honesty part, like, what did that mean to you? Like, that year that you got those 15, 20, 15, 20 in a year is a lot.
I didn't feel guilty because that was the challenge. I had no guilt about it because I was upfront and everybody knew.
What do you say that you were being upfront about? Like, hey, I just want something casual, or
No, these were friends. These were people who were. they all had done this thing called EST in 1975, EST.
EST.
Yeah, it was a whole phenomenon that swept across the country of self-improvement. There were weekends in a hotel, and these guys would yell at you, but it was a real learning. It was very effective, except it was harsh. And a lot of people objected to it, and they softened it up. And it still exists, but I forget, it used to be called, it became the Forum, and now it's something else. I did it. I brought my father into it to do it. I brought my daughter into it. Karen did it when she was 10. So it totally helped me get in touch with my own feelings. I didn't realize how cut off you can be. Like I said, if you know you're going to do the right thing, what does it matter what you feel about it? And that's true. That's really true. But as I said to you earlier, I didn't know that your body stored all that emotion and controlled you that way. So I had and everybody that I was associated with had gone through that. We were like a clique. So everybody was kind of forgiving about it. I stopped it because I was in this circumstance, and I said, this is wrong. This is just wrong. I felt bad for the girls because any one of them might have been taking me more seriously than I wanted them to take. And I wasn't. I had just gotten out of a bad marriage.
So how did you pick them up, though?
Huh?
How did you pick them up?
We all knew each other from EST.
So you just kind of told one of them, hey, I want to fuck?
It low-key sounds like a sex cult.
I know, but
So you were in a sex cult.
Not like that, but
Now that I think about it.
no, but I don't think anybody was ever that direct. But I remember being in my apartment, and I had one of the friends was there, and she brought a friend of hers over, and everybody decided to just hang out naked. And the friend said, she likes you. You ought to. I said, oh, I like her. And actually, there's somebody I wound up going out with for a short time. So she was just hanging out in my bed. I got into bed,
Call them orgy, sir.
No, the other girl wasn't interested.
Okay.
She just wanted to watch.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
She just wanted to control the situation.
So that was her.
She was actually at the time going out with George Harrison's lawyer.
Oh, wow.
So she was taken. So she was up there.
Okay. All right.
But I didn't go out to Fire Island with the Hamptons with this crew. Of course, I was married. But I know that out in the Hamptons, they all shared a house, and it'd be like a dozen of them. So I know a lot of stuff went on. It was a pretty. This is a time right after. What was the sex club in New York?
Oh, Studio
That's
59?
Plato's Retreat.
Oh.
What?
You ever hear of Plato's Retreat?
No.
Oh, it was a big sex club in New York. People just went there to fuck strangers. It was a big deal. I could never do that. It just wasn't in me to do that. And I that's a way of picking up something you don't want to pick up. But it was very popular, and this was at that time. I guess morality had just kind of fallen off the cliff.
This was what year?
You
what
know,
decade?
it's the same time, 75 to 80.
Oh, 75 to 80. Okay.
The Plato's Retreat, my God.
What a name.
But then what happened? The next generation, they had the raves, and all the stuff would happen in the dark corners of the raves or the bathrooms. the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just staged differently.
Got you.
And not so stoned. I mean, grass is a lot different than MDMA. You know, grass there's a little more self-direction. With MDMA, it's just like it seems like you love everybody.
Grass kind of makes you more detached, so to speak. Or?
Yeah, it's heady. It's
Yeah.
not emotional. It's heady.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, MDMA, I think, is emotional.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, like ooh,
Right. I mean, everything.
ooh, you
turns around.
feel so good. Like, okay, so you've so in this kind of a experience where you had this radical honesty, did you ever experiment in different ways?
With a guy? No.
No, I mean in other ways. Like you said, you weren't into sex clubs or whatever, but any
No,
other-
I was a shy guy. I mean, the fact that I did what I did in that year was like, you know, it was like the turtle threw off his shell. I just really came out, and then I calmed down, and then all that mattered to me then was really my daughter, and everything I've done for the last 30 years has been. Well, no, I can't say 30. I'd say the last 45 years has been because of her.
only one daughter.
Yeah, I wish I had a dozen. If I have an issue right now, I have to pee. and you don't want to, can you turn
Well,
this?
I mean, we're pretty much done almost, but
But at my age, when you say you have to pee,
you have to pee.
You have to
there's,
go.
there's no,
There's no. Okay,
Go ahead.
okay. Fair enough. You can.
We'll
you
ask
can,
the
it's
last
water.
question.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Just show me
No,
where
no,
it
you're
is.
fine.
It's in the back over there in the corner. I love it.
Not your typical. But there's some good shit in there. And like great advice. Oh my God. He's amazing, right? Yeah. I would
Great
love
stuff, my brother. Good stuff.
I would love to, and I like you see I'm not talking because he's
Yeah,
just
yeah, no.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Like I just want to ask him a question and let him roll. And
Go. What do you want to ask?
no. Like I don't care. You're asking him. I'm like
Oh no, I mean,
let you bring it back to the stuff. You know what I mean? But
the only last questions that I would ask is the finishing question. But if you have something
yeah.
else,
No.
You
I'm
don't have
good.
anything else that
I
you're
just
curious?
enjoyed listening.
okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. 'Cause I don't mind this one running a bit longer. Yeah, I love this kind of shit.
I mean, he does have a girlfriend that he loves. In love with her. Like he's happy, and he would be willing to talk about it.
Now would be the time before I ask the closing question.
Okay. Bum. You're gonna cut this out, right?
Mic check.
Mic check. Wait, you can't hear me really. Fuck.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
I see it.
Yeah.
It's all good. Oh, right here. Yeah.
Oh, mic.
Check.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
So I have a question. After all the relationships you've had, this amazing career in life, how are you doing now with your love life?
Well, that's a magic question, actually. Because now that I know, I didn't love my first two wives.
You didn't?
No. Or my wife and my present wife. No. I did not love them. I didn't love them. I may have loved a lot of things about them, like sexually or their personality, but I didn't love them. And I met somebody 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, about 10 years younger than me. And for the first time, I fell in love. Fell in love with her. There's no sex involved. That's what I told her when I first met her. I said, I'm not interested in that. In fact, I'm not even interested in having a relationship, but I got set up for a date, and we just clicked. And we see it's very hard for her because I'm a married person still. Regardless of how I feel, I'm still married.
You consider yourself separated?
No,
Okay.
no. I speak to my wife, almost every day. No, not more than a minute or two, really, just to see if she needs anything. And and my daughter is a very big issue for her. So we're still together, but there's kind of like no future. So it's very hard for her, but we enjoy each other's company. And that's my check. That's how do you know that you still have any feelings? It's like whenever I leave her, I don't feel as good. I always feel better with her. And it doesn't, just being around her, and that's how I knew I didn't love my first two wives, because I've never had that feeling before. And I never told somebody that I loved them. I've never told anybody I loved them, except this woman.
Like your first two wives, kind of, when you say I love you, it was hollow?
I only did the love you too. I only did the, I never gave her the feeling of I love you. And I never said that to my first wife. I don't even know if she ever said it to me. And I think my wife is sensing something because she keeps saying that to me. She keeps making it harder for me not to say it, but I continue to not say it. And I'm not afraid that if she were to ask me, I could, yes, I have a friend. And I could honestly say there's been no sex. And I kiss her hello, goodbye, and that's it. But I really feel good when I'm with her. It's like, I remember picking her up recently, and she said, so how was your day? I said, it was awful. So I said, but just let me hold your hand for a minute, and it'll improve. And it did.
Wow.
So you fell in love for the first time at 80 years old.
At 80 years old.
Wow.
Wow. So there's still hope out there.
There's always hope.
There's always hope.
That's what we all live on. Everybody lives on hope. Very few people, I think, can honestly say they're satisfied with where they are. I think it's, so we're so goddamn spoiled in this country. We don't look at ourselves. We look at everybody else, and we measure ourselves against them. Say, well, I don't have that. I'd be happier. I'm so glad I met this billionaire. Guy was up until very, 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 very recently Donald Trump's best friend. Has the floor below him in Trump Tower, and very unhappy guy.
All the money in the world.
Yeah, it's billions.
It just put things into perspective.
Yes, billions. Yeah, and it just showed me. Now I have an old friend. I have a friend who, he made good money in his 70s, so he's now a millionaire. But he couldn't be happier because his kids were everything. Totally supported his kids. I mean, great parents there. And so money isn't going to spoil it. It's just that if you chase money, and it's interesting here in this area. There are a lot of people here who are in finance. A lot of people down from New York, and it's like all they're doing is chasing money. you know, I've had a country house. I've had a weekend house at the beach. I had a condo right on the water in Long Beach. I had a lake house. I have an apartment in one of the most desirable places in New York, in the Village. And yet, I didn't have a lot of money. You didn't need a lot of money. Just, of course, I didn't ask for a lot, so I don't need the penthouse.
You're happy with what you had. It's interesting because, like the people that you were saying, they're here for finance and they're like chasing. They don't even know how to go on dates with women. At least not with women like me. I have gone on dates with some of them.
They just want to get laid.
And they just, well, one, they want to get laid, but the way that they're trying to get laid is not the right way. At least not with me, because I guess I have different values. But they just flash things, and they think that if they show off how much money they have, or girls in general, women like me or not me or younger, older, whatever, will jump in bed with them.
Younger.
Right. 100%. But yeah, they don't even know how to, the point is they don't even know how to date. I've seen these people with
very young girls.
Right. Yeah.
Sugar babies.
Yes.
Whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe they'll learn.
Like the world revolves around money.
It's conscience. You have to pay attention to your conscience.
So Jay, close things out. Like, after everything you've been through, if you had any romantic advice that you would have given your younger self at any stage in your life, what would it be?
Do everything you can to find out if you're lying to yourself. Don't compromise it, because it'll bite you in the ass in the end. You can't compromise feelings, because feelings, that's who you are. They're not going to change. The different feelings change within you, but the feelings about any particular thing will come back the same way. So that's why everybody it's hard. Relationships are hard. But I think when relationships are honest, they endure. I have friends who I don't speak to a lot, but we'll always be friends. I'll always be that person's friend.
That's fucking beautiful advice.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, it really has.
Thank you both.
Dropped gems today.
Thank you for coming.
Talking about myself.
Consider this, episode of Memoir. Slice and
It's awesome.
Thank you.
I hope I gave you what you were looking for.